we'll tell you else who's eating good as we got 3 candidates here. The top 3 wide receivers from last week. Who's eating good served by Applebee's. Look at the Week 15 fantasy leaders at wide receiver. Number 1 was Jordan Addison. Number 2 was Jaylen Waddle. Number 3 was scary Terry McLaurin. Lawrence, let's start with Jordan Addison. He comes in as wide receiver 26 for Barry this week. How do you like Addison in a matchup against a Lions defense that a lot of teams have been able to feast on, especially the secondary?
Yeah, I like it a lot. Now, this is Jordan Addison's best game in about 6-7 weeks. But the thing, what I liked was that he did this in the presence of Justin Jefferson. You wanted to see both of them, able to have a good game together. And it came with Nick Mullins. Detroit has allowed a receiver to gain 95 yards or score a touchdown in 5 of their last 6 games. So, of course, some of that will go to Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson. But with the game total between the Vikings and Lions being 47 and the Vikings being 3-point dogs, you expect them to, try to make their due in the passing game with those receivers.
Matthew, I don't think anybody's expecting a 29-point week again, but can Addison at least be a wide receiver 2 in this matchup?
I'm as a wide receiver 3. He comes in at wide receiver 26 for me. I think there's a lot of positive sides, right? I mean, so this is a guy that, by hook or by crook, Jay Croucher,
there it is, Jay.
has found his way into the end zone. He's got 9 touchdowns on the year. That's top 5 among all wide receivers as well. And last week with Nick Mullins, it was a 19% target share, which is the highest he's had in a game this season where Justin Jefferson has been active. I don't think they were all well-advised throws. In fact, a lot of the throws that Nick Mullins made to Jordan Addison, you're like, no, don't do that. What? Wait, that worked out.
Both of the touchdown
passes
shouldn't have been
awful throws. But okay, bad for the NFL, but good for fantasy-wise. If he's going to force the ball to Jordan Addison, we certainly like that. And the matchup is favorable as well. Vikings are underdogs in this game, and they're going to have to be throwing against Detroit. Over the last month, the Lions bottom 10 in the NFL in terms of most fantasy points allowed to, or I guess top 10, depending on how you look at it. But basically, they're among the 10 teams that have given the most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. They've also allowed the second most yards on deep passes. Nick Mullins, a little bit of a gunslinger mentality to him. He's not scared to throw it up even when he shouldn't. Honestly. I don't think he's the best quarterback on the Vikings roster right now, but I'm not the one making the decisions. And I do think this benefits Addison, who, again, is a risky but viable wide receiver 3 for me.
Yeah, I think Mullins is bad, possibly very bad, but he's bad in a way that's conducive to fantasy. He's not the type of quarterback who goes, 2 incompletions, 3 and out, and then, he marches you down the field for 45 yards by making, a high degree of difficulty throws or high risk throws, and then he throws in an inexplicable pick. So I think that he will be able to put up yards similar to the Bengals game. And yes, the Bengals have a bad pass defense, but so do Detroit. So they should be able to put up numbers in this game, even if he ultimately submarines the team with his interceptions.
I will just say this. In our show league, I will be starting Jordan Addison against Jay Croucher. As the lineups have come through, Jay Croucher and myself face off in the semifinals of our League of Assholes.
Not since De Niro and Pacino saw each other in the diner and Heat has there been such showdown.
Yes.
And I will put you down, Matthew Berry, as Al Pacino said he would.
I am secretly nervous. I'm dead serious.
I could tell a little bit because he's the underdog.
He's the underdog. His is a team of destiny. Yeah, it's an awful collection of players that continues to win despite all indications that it shouldn't.
I'm Shane Steichen. Yeah, spamming RPOs. No one knows what's going on.
Who's QB2 for you this week?
Derek Carr. Not great. I'm choosing between Derek Carr and Easton Stick.
The Stick man.
Really tough decision. Then I'm going to go Carr.
All right.
Don't feel good.
You have a good quarterback for one.
No, I don't. Nick Mullins. I had Justin Herbert. He's dead. I got Mullins, Carr, and Stick. Those are my 3 choices.
See, if I lose to this, I'm starting Joe Flacco against you because I don't want Howell against the Jets.
You're getting at least 45 passes.
You should have to sit Jalen Hurts. It's not a fair matchup.
No, I'm going to start Jalen Hurts, but I mean, who knows? Jalen Hurts he's been good fantasy-wise, but he hasn't.
I'm just going to go all chaos, like all the random guys who can absolutely go off. Like there'll be no Elijah Moore. Like I'm going Josh Palmer, going weird dudes who can who can catch
This is why I'm scared. He can roll.
You want some Rashid Shaheed?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of
Rashid Shaheed is going to have like 3 catches for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns, and
In my battle for 5th place, he's on my roster.
Yeah.
I'd be very upsetting.
Get
When I lose to Jay, it's going to be it's going to be chaos.
It'll be an interesting show.
It'll be very upsetting.
Stephon Diggs is finally going to have his first good game in 3 months. He's my only good player, Stephon Diggs.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's going to happen. He's going to explode for like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, so he should.
Nah,
the
just
Chargers,
two,
he
just
actually
two.
might.
Yeah.
Yeah, two.
Yeah, it's coming. On
All right.
NBC.
Our next player here, Jaylen Waddle. Jay comes in as wide receiver 2 last week. He's a top 15 play for Barry this week. Now, the catch, of course, is no Tirico Hill in last week's game. We expect Tirico Hill to try to push to play in this one. How does that change things for Waddle, who looked phenomenal last week?
I think the main thing is he just looked fully healthy, looked explosive. He looked like the same guy that he was at the end of his rookie season, all throughout last year. And that was the concern because he's been banged up. He's been really disappointing overall this season. But the fact that he was able to do this against the Jets defense, or able to key in on him with no Tyreek, and I understand that they just basically, you're just never getting lined up against Sauce Gardner. We'll go up against DJ Reed, who was ill, and all of that. But still, no, I think he's an awesome option against Dallas, even with Tyreek back. Because this Dallas team can be exploited defensively. I don't trust Stephon Gilmore and Deron Bland against the speed of Hill and Waddle.
To your point, over the last 4 weeks, the Cowboys have allowed the second most yards after the catch, which is always such a big part of the McDaniel offense, getting guys in space and letting them take advantage of that yards after the catch. I like the clip that's going around social media, if you've seen McDaniel mic'd up, basically saying, like, I feel a one-play drive coming up. And that's the very next play is the long touchdown to Waddle against your Jets last week.
Disgusting. That was definitely edited to make him look amazing.
I thought you were going to say about the speech that he gave in Hard Knocks, which is going around about how he gives a very expletive-laden speech to his team after the Titans win, criticizing himself for his own play calls against the Titans. It's very good cinema. He's a national treasure, Mike McDaniel.
He is and must be protected at all costs.
That's how it should go. And just this thing, too, in the 3 previous games before this one without Tyreek Hill, he was averaging 81 yards and 6 catches in those previous games. So it's like you'll take that, but now that you know he can do this, like you feel good about it. Not counting the Bills, they didn't have to pass against the Cowboys, but A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith both had solid days. DK Metcalf, JSN, good days. Curtis Samuel, there's room for multiple receivers to get going against this Dallas defense. What you said, they're not. It's like they still got game, but it's more name than game with that Dallas defense.
Yep.
Matthew, our last one, Terry McLaurin, the week we've been waiting for last week. A lot of it came with Jacoby Brissett, though, and they have the Jets on Christmas Eve. Terry McLaurin comes in as wide receiver 3. Where does he rank for you after that?
He's wide receiver 33 for me, and I think ideally, if I could, I would not play with him. Again, it was out of the bye. The week before that, he'd had 0 yards on 0 targets. And to your point, 70% of his fantasy points. Now, you saw it at the top of the segment. He was a top 3 fantasy wide receiver this past week. But 70% of his production came from Jacoby Brissett in crazy comeback mode as well. He had a 33% target share with Brissett. He's had only 1 game with a 30% target share on the season, to the point. In the past 5 games with Sam Howell, and Howell, of course, is going to start against the Jets, he's averaging under 7 fantasy points per game. Over the last month, the Jets allow the 3rd fewest fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Sam Howell's going to be under pressure quite a bit. He's going to see a lot of Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. Terry McLaurin is generally matchup proof, but given the offense, the way Howell's kind of moved it around, the other fact is I don't know that under Trevor Siemian, which is who we expect to start for the Jets this week, that the Jets move the ball in a significant way. I think this is a very low-scoring game. So it's not like last week where they just had to chuck it, and where we've seen some scenarios where the Commanders have been down big and Howell's just gone pass happy. He's throwing 40, 45, 50 times a game. I don't think that's going to be the game script against the Jets, where I think it's just going to be a lot of punting, a lot of running, kind of an ugly back-and-forth game. So in an ideal world, you're not using Terry McLaurin this week, at least for me.
In an ideal world, but I am using Terry McLaurin against you because I don't have any other good players and I have no options. So Terry will.
So he will go off. So there you go. He's going to go off.
That's right. The thing that does worry me, you mentioned the game script, Matthew. In their last 2 games now, he hasn't thrown the ball more than 26, 27 times, and that's how they've been able to get this volume, right? Even in the blowout loss to the Dolphins, like, he threw 23 passes. Like, he came in 2 weeks ago, Sam Howell was averaging 40 passes a game. He's thrown 49 in the past 2. So it's like, if you're not getting that volume, you can't really trust any of these receivers, not even Curtis Samuel, who seems to be like the wide receiver 1 now. So I don't know. It's scary for little Terry.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.